You're probably going to want to search databases within your university library system, such as ERIC, JSTOR, PsycInfo, or PubMed, for example. Now, there are several ways that we can directly import the records from the databases into our Mendeley desktop. And before I show you some of those strategies, I'm going to show you a little trick that I like to do. I generally like to have two folders already previously set up within the Mendeley desktop that I can import these records to. The two folders I'm going to call New Bibliography and New PDF. So in order to do that, we're just going to go on the left-hand side and we're going to click on the tab that says Create Folder. And then we could just type in whatever we want to call the folder. So the first one will be New Bibliographies. And then I'll click it again and create new PDFs. Now, the reason I like to do this is when I'm exploring through some of these databases, I might just be looking for some randomly related topics of PDFs, and I'm not necessarily sure whether or not they're completely relevant, but they might seem relevant. And so before I start importing everything into Mendeley, I generally like to just put these into these new folders, so that way I don't necessarily have to worry about trying to locate them or search for them later. And I just know that generally when I'm working within the library system at a given time, whatever I download into Mendeley, I can either just use the new bibliographies or just use the new PDFs without necessarily making a huge mess of my desktop. And then I can easily just find from that particular search session where those might be. And I'll show you exactly what that means when we start searching. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to my university library homepage. Now, clearly throughout this tutorial, not everyone's going to be working with the University of Georgia library webpage. So you're going to have to do your best to try and make some parallels between the way this system works and your university library system works. Generally, they work on the same type of platform, but there are going to be some small specifics that you're going to have to adapt to. Now, if you're working within campus or on campus, you should have no problems to access. However, if you're working off-site, the best thing to do is, first of all, make sure that you're logged into the system using your university credentials. And second, what I like to do and what I have on my computer is called a virtual private network, or a VPN. By logging into the VPN, that mimics being on campus, and it allows me all the access possibilities that I have being on campus. So that way I know whether or not I have full access to any particular PDFs or sources that I'm looking for. So with Mendeley, we have the ability to download a PDF and a reference simultaneously from any database that we're working with into our Mendeley system. Now, in order to do that, let's use an example. So I'm going to do a general search for one of my papers. And so this is the paper that I'm looking for, Rater Fairness in Music Performance Assessment. Now, we can click on here to look at the specific record. Now that we have this record and we have all of the metadata information that we're looking at, we want to actually find the specific PDF. So in order to do that, I'm going to click here and it says Find It at UGA, which is going to find the specific subscription that we can access it with. Now it says that this is available through our Sage Premiere 2016 package. So I'm going to click on that to be able to try and access the PDF specifically from that package. Okay, so here's the article that we're looking for. It says that we have the full text freely available to us. Now, if you remember, we installed the Import to Mendeley bar within our Chrome browser. So if we come up here, all we have to do is click on this tab up here, and then it pulls up all of the metadata. It has all of the journal title information, the author information, the journal, the year, everything is correct. Now, because we have download PDFs if available, because we have this checked, you'll notice here that there's a PDF icon. And what this means is that when we download it, it's actually going to download the PDF and all of the metadata that's available for this into Mendeley. Now, what we want to do is, because we may be just browsing multiple journal titles or multiple articles and we're just exploring, Generally what I want to do is save this into my new PDF folder. So that way I can go back and see if it's completely relevant, or I can organize it into subfolders later. So in order to do that, I'm basically going to click right here on where it says choose folders or groups. And then you notice that those two folders pop up. Now, if you have multiple folders, they might not all pop up, so you're going to have to type in what folder you are. I think it limits it to maybe five folders that are going to pop up at once. So here, new PDFs, it pops up, and then I'm going to click Save. And so now it verifies that it saved the PDF with the check mark and it saved the reference metadata with the check mark. So what we can do now is we can double check to make sure that this actually occurred. So if we click here where it says Web Library, this is going to take us to the online cloud service where we can check and make sure that everything is there. So it's going to open up a new browser, and here you see that it has the new information, it has new PDFs, and it's loaded into that specific folder, which is very important for me personally for organizational purposes. Now what we can also do is go into our desktop and verify that it went there as well. So you'll notice that it's not there. What we want to always make sure to do is we click this sync button, so that way it's going to now speak to the cloud service and sync up the desktop client to the cloud service. So if we click sync, you'll notice that the information is here. So here's all of the metadata, here's all the information, and if we double click on the PDF, here's the PDF. So now once again it's prompting us to see whether or not these details are correct. Generally what I like to do first is click search. When you click search, what that's going to do is, once again, it's going to tell us whether or not that this has been uploaded into the Mendeley system, and it might actually find the title. So if we click search, you see now we don't have to do any copying or pasting, because clearly this paper has been put into the system and it has all of the metadata in here. So now what I just want to do, I can always go back and do this later if I'm working in a hurry, because I know it's all put into a new separate folder. But now we can just check the metadata to make sure that the title's correct, the authors are correct, and all of that information. So we're going to say that the details are correct after checking it. And there we go. We have the full PDF and all of the metadata with just one click. Now, what I want to be clear on and go back and show you is that the PDF icon that we saw isn't always going to show up. You always have to be on sometimes a specific page in order for that to happen. So to show you and to illustrate exactly what I mean by that, I'm going to clear out of here, and I'm going to get rid of my desktop, and I'm going to go back a little bit to the initial periodical that we found. So we did the search here, but now if we just come up to this particular query and we check on import to Mendeley, you'll notice here that it has both of these entries pulled up. So really what we could do is click on both of these and import those simultaneously to our desktop. But when we do that, the PDFs aren't always going to show up. So what we actually have to do now is go and click here, and we'll do one further. And so here's the more detailed entry. Now if we click here on the Mendeley icon, you'll notice here that the PDF is not pulling up, which means if we import this, all it's going to import is the metadata. So now once again, if we go to Find It at UGA, we can click on it again. And if we click on the metadata, we'll notice here that still that PDF is not showing up. So lastly, we're going to go into the Sage Premiere where we have full access to the PDF. And we'll click here. And we'll notice here is where the PDF shows up. So sometimes you have to be patient and be a little bit playful with clicking on that button to see whether or not within one click you can install the PDF and the metadata simultaneously. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, depending on what database you're using, depending on the type of web page you're looking at. So that's just something to be clear, whether or not you can do it all in one shot, or if you have to parse it out into two separate actions. So in this particular example, we didn't necessarily have to go straight to the PDF in order to be able to download the PDF and the metadata simultaneously. Here, we were able just to come to the home page of the article itself, and it allowed us to download the PDF and the metadata simultaneously. But in some instances, you're going to have to actually go directly to the PDF in order to download that. So let me show you an example of what that looks like. So I'm going to close out of these tabs, and I'm going to go back to the University of Georgia Library website, and I'm going to use the database JSTOR to perform our search. Now, as an example, let's do a search for multidimensional item response theory. We can come down to any of these articles, and as an example, let's just use Mark Recase's article, Building a Unidimensional Test Using Multidimensional Items. We can click on here and we notice that we have the download PDF article. So let's go up to the Mendeley and take a look at what happens. If we click the Import to Mendeley tab, we notice that some of these articles that are here pop up. Neither one of these are of interest to us because we're interested in looking at Mark Recase's article. So we can close out of here, and we can now click on here to try and find more specific information about this. So here, once again, we come up with some of the metadata, and we have an example of first page of the PDF. So let's try and click on Import to Mendeley again and see what happens. So once again, it's still not picking up the particular information that we're interested in. So now our only option is to go into Download PDF. So if we click on Download PDF, the PDF is going to pop up. So now if we click on Import to Mendeley, the information is going to pop up, and we're going to see that it has the information for the PDF, so we can download the PDF directly into our desktop client along with all of the metadata for the reference. So let's try it. We'll save the information. It's telling us that the PDF and the reference have been both simultaneously put into our file system. And we're going to double check here by clicking on Web Library. It is indeed there. And now what we can actually do is check once again in our desktop. And here it is. So let's double click on the file. We see that the PDF has been stored. Let's double check and search the details. And it didn't come back completely correct. So we can go in and double check this. Let's copy here. It's a journal article, Journal of Educational Measurement, 25/3. Everything else looks correct. So let's just fix this to make sure it works with our APA formatting. So we'll keep all of this lowercase. And we'll say that the details are correct. We'll come out of here and we'll double check and make sure that it went into our new PDF folder and everything looks perfect. So right now it's just a matter of becoming more familiar with the various databases that you're going to be using particular to your field and starting to have a little bit of a better understanding of how Mendeley operates with those particular databases. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure to give us a big thumbs up and like the video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our channel by clicking the link above and make sure to check out some of our other videos. We'll see you again soon.